All right, here's Ms. Whitaker, and I wanted to go over the notes from 5-6 on customary measurements. We're actually, you may be wondering, why are we doing measurements in the middle of proportions? But we're actually using proportions to solve or make predictions on these different measurements. So we will have a conversion rate is going to be 1/2 of our proportion. It's going to be the ratio that we know, and then we're going to use that ratio to make a prediction about another equivalent ratio. So just take a look at the 5-6 notes. We'll start on the reteach side, as you see here. What they did up here at the top is they're giving you some common conversion rates in length, weight, and capacity or volume. So in our length, here's some of the basics that we know. We know that there are 12 inches in a foot. We know there are 3 feet in a yard. And we know that there are 5,280 feet in 1 mile. So that's going to help you with your homework. So please keep these notes and make reference to them as you work throughout your homework. Now let's look at the weight. The more common weight conversions is 16 ounces in a pound and 2,000 pounds in 1 ton. Now don't forget, we've got ounces right here in weight. That's when you have, like when a baby's born and you hear the pounds and the ounces. That's what we're talking about here. And so we have 16 ounces are in 1 pound. But over here in capacity, we also have fluid ounces, so don't get those confused. 16 ounces in 1 pound, but there's 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup. And so that's when we're like measuring with a measuring cup. In 1 cup, it's 8 fluid ounces. So the ounces in weight is going to be different from our ounces in capacity. So keep that in mind. I know it's a little confusing, and if you'll notice, just look at all these numbers. There's really no rhyme or reason as to why the conversion rates, they're just things you have to memorize. And that's kind of why mathematicians like to use the metric system, because it's all based on 10 and just moving the decimal to the left or to the right. We're either multiplying by 10 or some multiple of 10 or dividing, so it makes it much easier. But we're going to deal with customary today. So keep these notes while you're doing your homework, because you're going to need these to solve your proportions. All right, so let's take a look at this example right here. It says we want to change 3 pounds to ounces. We're trying to fill in this blank right there. It says, first of all, it says to change larger units to smaller. So larger to smaller, we are going to end up multiplying. And if we're going to change smaller to larger, we're going to divide. So let's just keep that in mind. Now, 3 pounds equals how many ounces? Well, we go back up to right up here to our weight where it says 16 ounces equal a pound. So 3 pounds is going to be 3 times 16, so that's going to be 48. So that gives us our 48 ounces. And then the next example here, we want to do 60 inches equals how many feet? So we're going from smaller to larger, so we're going to divide. Don't forget that. So we're going to do 60 inches, and we know that there are 12 inches in a foot. So 60 divided by 12 equals 5, and that's going to be 5 feet. All right, let's do some of these examples down here, farther on down the page. Let's hold on to our little, well, I'll have to move this up. You're going to have to just keep a hold of your notes, but you can see your notes. Okay, 12 quarts equals how many gallons? So we're going to have to go back up to the top of the page, and we're going to look in the capacity. And we see that 4 quarts equal 1 gallon. So we're going to write that down in our fact that we know. And we know we're going from smaller to larger, so we're going to divide. So that's going to be our operation. And so we are going to take that 12 and divide by the 4 to get 3. So 12 quarts is equal to 3 gallons. All right, let's go over here to number 2. We're changing yards to feet. So we're going from larger units to smaller units, so we're going to multiply. The fact that I know there is 1 yard and there's going to be 3 feet in 1 yard. So we are going to multiply, just like we noted here, 9 times 3 equals 27, so 9 yards is equal to 27 feet. All right, look at number 3. So 7 pounds to ounces. Now what I do know is I'm going from a larger unit in pounds to a smaller unit in ounces. And I know that there is 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. So I'm going to do 7 times 16, and that gives me 112 ounces. All right, and over here on number 4, 48 fluid ounces equals how many cups? We're trying to figure that out. So we are going smaller units to larger units. So what was the operation we're supposed to do? I think we're supposed to, let's see, smaller to larger, we're going to divide. So we're going to end up dividing here. So 48 fluid ounces divided by, oh, we've got to make sure we know how many. So go back up to the capacity, and you see that there's 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup. So we're going to divide 48 divided by 8. That gives us 6 cups. All right, and then on number 5, they didn't give us any help. So we're just going to have to, you notice as we go through the examples, they give you less and less help to step you through it. So you should be able to do it on your own. All right, 8 feet to inches. So we're going from larger to smaller. So we know we're going to multiply. And I got to notice that there is in 1 foot, how many inches? There's 12 inches. So I'm going 8 feet to inches. I'm going to multiply 8 times 12, and that gives me 96 inches. All right, and over here, 4,000 pounds to ton. So I'm going from smaller to larger, so I'm going to divide. And I know that there are 2,000 pounds in 1 ton. So I'm going to divide 4,000 divided by 2,000, and that gives me 2 tons. 4,000 pounds is equal to 2 tons. All right, so again, we're using what we know with our conversion rates between our customary measurements, and those are in your notes. Please hold on to those notes. And then we are going to use those to either multiply or divide. If we're going from smaller to larger, we're dividing. If we're going from larger to smaller, we're multiplying. All right, so let's turn the page over. Go to the next page. Okay, it says this flow chart shows 2 ways to solve this problem. 56 ounces equals how many pounds? That's what we're looking for. However, I think that today we're just going to stick to the left side of your notes. I don't want to get into these multiplication equations. We're dealing with proportions, and I think you're really good at using the proportions, so let's just stick with the left side. We're going to use a proportion using the conversion rates that we know from the other side of the page, and we're going to answer these questions. So our question, let's see up here, was 56 ounces equals how many pounds? Now what do we know about ounces and pounds? Well, we know that there are 16 ounces in 1 pound, and we're looking for how many pounds in 56 ounces. So we set up our proportion like so. Make sure your ounces go on the top and the pounds go on the bottom. Now you could flip it. You could say 1 pound to 16 ounces, but then you'd have to put the 56 on the bottom. Make sure you just keep them matched up. So to solve this, we're going to do our cross products. So 56 times 1 is 56, and then 16 times x is 56. And that's what you see right here. Our cross products are equal when we have a proportion. So 16x is equal to 56. So to isolate our variable, we're going to divide now both sides by 16, and that gives us our answer of 3.5. All right, so let's do some examples down here. Down farther on down your page. It says use the problem 18 yards to blank feet. So we are changing 18 yards to feet. Now it says number one, what's the equivalent measure you can use to solve this problem? We're going to use the 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. And that's what we're going to use for our proportion. So we're going to say 1 to 3. This is yards to feet. And that is equal to, we'll see, 18 was our yard, so the 18 goes on top, 18 yards to, and we're looking for how many feet that is. So if I solve that proportion, I'm going to do cross my products. 18 times 3 is 54. So 54, 1 times x, the one we're looking for, is equal to 54. Divide by 1. X is equal to 54. So that's going to be my answer over here. So 54 is going to be the number of feet in 18 yards. I'm going to skip number 4 because I don't want to do the multiplication equations. But if you did use the multiplication equation, you'd end up with the same answer. But for now, I just want to use proportions. So look at your homework. You're only responsible to do 5-6 practice today. So use your notes, use the conversion rates that you're given in the notes to solve your proportion. That's going to be half of your proportion. And then you're going to have one other number. You're going to have to decide where it goes in the proportion and then use your cross products to solve. Let me know if you have any questions.